Hello, Toni.
Hello, Nisam.
How are you, Toni?
I'm very well, thank you.
And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to interview you.
Yeah, I'm delighted. It's my favorite topic that we'll be talking about.
Yes. So, friends, we have Toni here. She's one of the Australia's #1 past life specialist. She is internationally recognized past life specialist. And not only that, she's also #1 best-selling author. She is the creator of SoulLife Coaching programs, training, resources, guiding thousands of clients worldwide with her visionary, intuitive approach to therapy, helping people to live with purpose and find their freedom. So, honestly, Tony, it doesn't look like seeing you. Here is this person with 20 years of experience and been so much experience and raised to one of the best in the industry. So please tell me, how did your journey started? And like 20 years is not a joke, 2 decades. So could you please tell about your story, how you got started and about your journey, please?
20 years it's a long time, and it
Yeah.
doesn't feel like it. It's gone like this.
Mhm.
But yes, that long ago, I came across Brian Weiss's Many Lives, Many Masters
Okay.
book, and never really heard of past lives before or even considered them. I wasn't even spiritual back then. It was my very beginning of understanding my intuition and that there was much more to life. But I read that book in lightning fast time.
Okay.
And I remember thinking to myself, this is what I'm here to do. And so that was it. Everything, I guess, I do believe everything's set with all the work that I've done in those realms now. And it makes much sense to me how opportunities and people, they came into my path with ease. So I guess it always felt like there were no blocks there. And I was obsessed with it. I'd never been so motivated about anything in my life before. And so hence we're 20 years later, and the whole thing that started as past life regression, which was phenomenal, developed into something that also was so much more. Partially, Nisam, partially because at that time in my life, I realized about self-awareness. And that also became a huge driver for me. So, it changed my life. To be honest, I was about 35 then. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize I had anything wrong. I didn't realize that I had insecurities. Of course I had them. I just didn't take any notice. So anyway, the whole thing and doing the actual past life regression for myself started it all off as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you underwent past life regression for yourself, what happened?
Well, it was visual, so I could see, and I could hear, and mostly I felt. Wow. And I was very emotional. And because it was like that, and I had never done anything like it before. So I suppose the thing is I didn't really have expectations. However, I had read Many Lives, Many Masters. But anyway, what happened was I could see so clearly, and the feelings were so strong, and the things that I saw, or the lives that I saw, they cleared my issues. They cleared them. And it was, so the whole thing for me was phenomenal. And even though, not even though, if anyone would have said to me that I made that up, or you can't prove that, from that moment on, I knew I didn't make it up. I was not going to fool myself. I know what I saw. I know what it felt like. And that I didn't make it up. So there were so many extraordinary things that happened for me from that session. But I guess for other people to listen to, it was the clearing of, for me, I couldn't speak in front of people. I couldn't.
Seriously?
I couldn't do it. And I would feel like I would faint. It would heat up. I'm going to faint. It was awful. So that for some reason it occurred to me, oh, that's a phobia. So I asked about that. And I also went through school writing with my hand covering my work. And to be honest, I wouldn't have minded if anyone was needing help with their exams or anything, but I couldn't bear them to read what I was writing, which also struck me when I came across these phobias and things within Many Lives, Many Masters, that I had that was a weird thing that I had as well. So I asked about that. And the other thing I asked about was, if I'm intuitive, which I had been told, why do I not know about that until I'm in my 30s? So those were my 3 questions, and they were all answered with 3 lives I went to in that particular session. It was extraordinary. And that was it. It was the start of my obsession with, oh, I've got to train. I'm going to do this with people. I can see how it will help. And yeah, that's how it all started.
Wow. It means like you tasted and you wanted to spread the same taste to all. Wonderful. And how did this helping others began? Once you experience, I got that. How did working with others started?
So, Nita, not long before, I say not long, it was probably a year-ish before I had become very interested in tarot cards for the first time. And I studied them myself with what I could find on the internet and that. And part of that, building my intuition and become very interested in it, I was reading in it was a crystal shop, or a shop where you could buy cards and crystals and these types of things, and you could get a reading. So I went to read at that shop. And I thought, I have to do it. So I went and asked, can I be a reader there? They tested me out. I've never read for really anyone before. So I read for them, and apparently it was quite accurate. And so I started with that. So by the time I became aware of the past life, it was just really a matter of months later. But I happened to be in a place where people who were naturally open to past lives and spirituality and intuition, they were coming into that shop. So the lady who ran the shop, she allowed me to put up a sign that said I was doing regressions. Wow. And so many people came for these regressions. Wow. And I was told from the start to take note of everything. So of course I did, and I have all my notes. So, and I was even aware then that it would become something, and that I would need to refer to these cases. So people came. The regressions seemed to always go so well. And even that still blows me away, that I was never very challenged with them either not working or my client not responding. So I feel like that's just a testament of that you're on track, and everyone's coming to help with this mission. And I felt that my mission was to bring this to mainstream, make it mainstream, normalize it. So that's what I've been doing ever since.
So things just happened.
Yeah, they literally just happened. And it was so fast this time. It was just almost day after day after day. Things would happen. I would be presented, or I'd reach out to someone and they would always respond. These phenomenal things happened over the years. So yes, it just all came together.
Yes, amazing. So, Toni, did your soul already decide that you have to? I know this is impromptu question, so I have decided to extract as much as possible from you in this interview.
Please do.
So did your soul already decide to do this work, to spread this work? So what exactly happened? Because it's not coincidence that you end up as a past life regression therapist and things unfolded by itself. So just asking.
I think because I've done so much work within those realms now, where I believe we're communicating with the soul, and of course I've been visiting there myself. So from all of this, which is over 20 years now, I do believe that before we're born, our mission is set. It's agreed to. And I think that we only become aware of it at the time that we're meant to. And I can only assume that part of my story has to be that until the age of 30, I had no idea about any of this. So, because I truly didn't. Although I must admit, probably even from about the age of 15, I used to get these thoughts that I was supposed to help people.
Okay.
And I never knew what that meant. And I certainly didn't realize how it would turn out. But I used to think, because I started working at that age, I didn't go onto higher levels of school. And I was always very friendly. So people would talk, we would talk together, and I used to think, this is probably a good thing where you're communicating with people and they can be open with you. But and I also used to have random thoughts that I would write, and the reality was I couldn't write because people might read it, and I was just I would fret about that. But anyway, so those thoughts, I guess in hindsight, I know now it was set and it was what would transpire. But in the moments that I was recognizing those thoughts, they really meant nothing.
And the same girl ended up becoming an author, best-selling author, who was once shy to, where her writing or whatever she was writing was not comfortable being seen. And see, it turns. Wow.
It's so phenomenal, isn't it? And, on that writing and authoring, and also straight after my regression, everything took off and websites were even new then. So we had to write content for the website, and I knew that I had to write blogs and had to write articles and try and get people to publish them, and they did. So I was writing, gone from this complete fearful state to writing. And also I started speaking. I would approach mind, body, spirit festivals and those types of things, and I would have to apply for a speaking spot, and they always let me. And I'd get up there and talk, and it was almost like I went from not being able to talk to shut her up now, you're only allowed up there for half an hour or so.
Time is up, Toni. Time is up.
All right, it's enough. Yeah. So,
and Toni, in very few interviews, it happens that I'm about to ask some question and it is already answered. I wanted to ask you about what kind of thoughts you had as a child and teenager. You already shared that you wanted to help people, you want to share help, and you had this inspiration of writing. So it's wonderful. And now tell me, like when you look back into these many years, people might have come to you about relationship issues, health issues, or like different challenges of life. So how does past life regression therapy helps a person to resolve their issues?
I think if I try and make it simple, it's because their soul knows what to show them. It seems that they're given something that they can assimilate with. So often it might be that it's the feeling that they can resonate with that's playing out now, or they might see maybe the roles are reversed where they're male or female, different to what they are now, but they will see something that is potentially a similar scenario. And then it makes sense to them and it's highlighted to them what they're doing now. And if it was something, since we're talking about relationships, if maybe they have, let's say, a fear of being abandoned, and it's really playing havoc on the relationship, sometimes what they see is where something like that happened before, and what it then does is it almost immediately clears this irrational fear that's not going to happen this time, but there's some sort of residual memory from when it happened another time. So then what would happen is in the regression, they're shown that, and they then can understand where that insecurity comes from now. So in a nutshell, it works like that for all symptoms, whether it's the emotional, relationships, or even physical symptoms. So physical symptoms they make me so happy when people come with physical symptoms, and it goes sometimes instantly. I've seen it a bit in training. I almost wonder if that's so other people can see, because it's almost like that's a bit of a miracle, really. But I'm thinking of one time in training where I regressed the girl. She was a psychologist, actually. And she was lying on the ground because her back was so sore. And she said she spent a lot of her time where she had to lie flat because every other position would hurt her. Anyway, we regressed her. I actually can't remember what happened. I can't remember the detail of it now, but I do remember that her back was fixed after that. She's prancing around the training. Wow. It was brilliant. Gosh, if I think back to what happened, I think maybe she had in the past life come off the horse and something had jarred her back. So sometimes it's a bit gory what happens in the past lives, but this was just an accident where she'd fallen. That's what happened, and something, a rock or something of that nature had jammed into her back.
Such a beautiful modality it is. So, Toni, one logical question now. Okay, see, past life regression happened to you. You didn't choose it, and it was intuitive, and it evolved. Let's say some person wants to become a past life regression therapist, and they also don't know something inside has attracted. They want to become it, and they are in the crossroads. Is it safe? What kind of program to choose, and all that stuff. So could you please first answer about the safety of past life regression? Your answer, is it safe?
Oh, my answer is it's absolutely safe.
Okay.
Because, and the reason that I say that is, if we trust that our soul knew exactly what we were coming for, it will only give us, or even children actually, what we can handle at the time. I suppose facilitating it, when I'm training people to facilitate, we make sure that we ask certain questions so that our client doesn't come out feeling in the least bit shaken up. They come out understanding what happened and why. But can I say honestly, when people do this with guided meditation, so they're doing it either in a group, which I might be leading, or someone else, or they do it by themselves with guided visualization, it still seems to be prolific and work well for however anyone chooses to do it. And of course, people recall these things with no help. They have these dreams, or, they have some sporadic recall. But I truly believe it is so safe. You can't get stuck in a past life. Of course, we're just having a memory brought into our awareness. And almost everyone, if not everyone, comes out and says, I feel lighter. And there's a sort of detachment in some ways that's happening in there where you're looking at things that are potentially gory, but like battles in the old days and things like this. But there's a deeper purpose to even those things. And because suddenly in this state you become aware of what that is, it all just seems to become an experience in life.
Yes. And when someone is choosing about a training program, Toni, like, could you please tell how is your training program unique, and what does a person gets to learn in this program?
Oh, Nisam, thank you for asking me about my program. So my program is called SoulLife Coach. And what we did with the program was we wanted to cover all the things. I suppose they're potentially seen as spiritual, but I see it as life. Hence, it's called Soul Life. But so what we included in the program are modules on all of these things. So intuition. And the part of this program is it's a self-awareness thing in itself, because while we're learning to work with other people, we're working on ourselves. So it's twofold. You come out different at the end of this program. It's phenomenal. But we start with intuition. And even most people who are drawn to this in the first place have got that intuitive calling. So maybe similar to the one that I described. And Nisam, you know what's interesting? We often get lawyers and psychologists and accountants, all sorts of people who've had totally different training or backgrounds. But for them too, and gosh, I'm not undermining people who's raised kids and that's what they did. They get called to it as well. So you don't have to have a that kind of a background. You can come from anywhere. The main thing is you feel the calling to help people. So so basically you're going to learn everything that you need to within this course. So intuition. We want our students to understand it for themselves, how it works for themselves, so that they're really at ease working with their client. But also, I always feel like that is something important to teach to our clients so that they can use it themselves. Like, I feel we don't need to be anyone's guru. I'd rather they can do it themselves for themselves and just feel much more at ease. So I know we all need affirmation from someone else at times. I mean, gosh, I do too. But predominantly, if we can trust ourselves along the way in our lives, then there's a lot less need for that. So intuition. Then we have Life Map, which is it's a dumbed down.
Toni, one moment. I would like to share the modules so that viewers get a taster of different modules, and then you may walk through each module. That would be
okay. I would love to do that. I get so passionate about
this. I could see that. So there you go. All the modules at one place.
There they are. So we start with intuition there.
Yes.
And then we move on to Life Map. And Life Map is a system. It's based on numerology, Pythagorean numerology. But what I wanted to do was dumb it down or simplify it. I wanted to simplify it so that we could tell someone with ease if they're ready. We only can hear we're ready, actually, in our own mission. But we can outline for people what they've come to do, but their innate strengths, the things that they're really naturally good at, and the ones that will be a challenge for them. And I feel like just that information alone helps people to realize or feel relief, particularly if they've been pushing themselves in a direction that's not suited. Okay. And then they then can understand, oh, I'm not really built for that. And then they can choose to keep going, but they then know, maybe I can go this direction. But one way or another, that life map, it outlines their life mission. It's very self-awareness oriented. So it's as much for our therapists or our coaches, their therapists really, to refer to when they're talking with a client, as much as it is for them to understand themselves as well. So that's our life map. Quite a big module, that one. And then we go into bruises.
Yes, that kind of caught my attention, Toni. Please elaborate. What do you mean by this? Such an amazing module.
So, Nisam, the bruises, they're emotional bruises. Okay. And the reason I call them bruises is because they get better. They can improve. But what they showcase are our insecurities. So, and we all have them. We all have them, every single person on this planet, because I think the purpose of life is for us to experience our insecurities because they invoke emotion. So these insecurities, or the emotional bruises, there's 5 of them. They're things like abandonment, rejection, humiliation, equality, and betrayal. And even though those things sound terrible, when you work through what they are and how they play out within us, it makes so much sense to the person who hears it. You can't make them own it. I think they have to resonate themselves and recognize it. So that's the bruises. And my goodness, when people realize this in themselves, it can change. I do find that they play out in relationships the strongest. So their relationships change phenomenally. And it's because they change. And also, I suppose, it helps them understand their person, because they can recognize the insecurities in their person as well. So, and it's extraordinary how you can see the unison of who we come together with, who challenges us, who we feel comfortable with. So these explain why the bruises, they're brilliant. And from there we go on to analysis, which analysis is basically our body telling us what the deeper emotional reason is behind why we are ill. And maybe we're not ill necessarily, but we're having physical symptoms. So of course they can go from the range to strong, or even terminal, I suppose, but just down to you kicked your toe or you cut your finger when you were making your dinner last night. So there's a metaphysical reason behind all of these things. So I like for our coaches to understand that, and it always just brings a deeper meaning to the surface. And honestly, over all these years, I didn't write this dictionary. I refer to other people's in this case. but when you pick it up and read what happened to you, it's like my mouth still drops open, because it is what's going on for you at the time, or what maybe is bothering you, and it's undeniable. And do you know what happens then, Nisam? If you've kicked your toe, for example, it heals so quick, or the pain stops. So it's really, I guess they got the message through to us. Yeah. So it's phenomenal. Then this is one of my favorite things that we incorporated into our diploma course, is the counselling module.
Exactly. This caught my attention because many programs miss this part. What inspired you to put this, and what does it cover, Toni?
Yes. So what inspired me was, in the beginning, as I said, I was reading for people, which I consider counselling, but there are ways that you get such access to people in that moment, even if they don't realize they're going for therapy, they are. Yeah. So we wanted to put the counselling module in. I had a very dear colleague who was a mentor of mine as well, and she wrote this module. She herself had been a psychotherapist for 20 years. She trained in London. And she also was very mediumistic and psychic as well. So she felt that the counselling was something that was missing in this industry.
Yeah.
So that's why we felt it was so important to add it in. But what she did, which I thought was the most incredible gift, was she felt that there was a lot of filler in our courses, in our psychology courses, in our psychotherapy courses. So what she felt after all of her experiences was these were the things we need to know to get to the core of someone, or to help someone get to the core. So hence it's quite short and sharp, but it's also quite traditional counselling training. But everything we do in this course also comes from an intuitive perspective. So in this, I also came to believe that one of the biggest turning points, if not the greatest turning point that we have through our life, is when we go through a period of grief and loss. And I think sometimes that's the first time we start to question, why are we here? Or maybe we want to reach out because we lost someone. So a big part of the counselling course is grief and loss, how and why we deal with it. And we portray how to understand the process and why. And also, obviously, we'll be able to see where we've been in it ourselves. And also the understanding that people gain. You've done so much study in this arena that you would know, but people who've never thought about that grief and loss, or that we grieve for something that doesn't have to be death, it really builds tolerance for people, an extraordinary tolerance, I believe. So grief and loss is a big thing. I've got some notes here. We of course we talk about intuitive counselling and the human condition, which are, you know, the aspects of us that we must work with and not against, really, not see them as problems, when things like anxiety, for example, are just such a part of life. Depends on our perspective on it. So we cover traditional counselling concepts and how we can listen to hear, not to respond.
The most important quality. Yeah.
Because I think by nature we want to jump in and make a solution, and it's like, oh, then we're not really counselling. So counselling concepts, of course, we talk about how we investigate, how we question, and why, how to get to the core. And that's the counselling module. It's really good. Can I say, I sat in that module at least 9 times when Pamela presented it, because she used to present this for the Toni Reilly Institute. And I would sit in either assisting or, do you know, every time I would get something new from it.
Amazing. Amazing. And what is this energy medicine all about?
So the energy medicine it's quite a brief one. I must say, many people, if not all of them, that are drawn to this have done some sort of energy work, or they're aware of it. So they might have done some Reiki training or some sort of energy work. But even if they haven't, we're still energetic if we're drawn to this. So we really just cover how we can use energy. Teach our person to is one thing, but also as a therapist or a coach, how we can balance our client and make them just feel a little more grounded, I suppose, at ease, less scattered. And we talk about things like color as energy and how we can use it as a tool. And we also cover a little bit about the pendulum in this module, because it's driven by energy, and even our thoughts, phenomenal. So the pendulum is quite, it's a tool that we do quite a lot of training on in this. And we use, I've got one here. We use a chart. I developed this chart, but it's used with a pendulum. So if our coach has any doubts, it's like the pendulum scoots off and shows them all of the areas to look at and where to delve and how to address things.
Wonderful.
So it's brilliant. That's basically our energy medicine module.
Wonderful.
We also, one of the modules that we added in was, we called it Connection, because it's particularly about being able to connect with someone who has passed, or actually being able to facilitate our client with someone who's passed for them. So, and basically it's showing them or facilitating that they can be their own medium, where they don't need that middle person to speak for the passed over person. They literally get to see them again and feel them again and have a conversation together. And it's really beautiful. Oh, it makes me feel a bit teary talking about it, actually, because people just get so sad and so guilty and so overwhelmed with grief that to meet again it's beautiful. So that's why we included the Connection module. And that came about through the regression process. It was one of the things that just started to happen, and I'm like, oh, this is incredible. So yeah, we developed it into how we can teach people how to facilitate it. And then of course is probably one of the most unique parts of the training is the recall module, which is essentially our past life module. But with the past lives, I called it recall because basically wherever the origin of their question or trauma or symptom is, or even curiosity, they're recalling a memory. So it might be a soul memory from a past life. It might be a memory from when they were planning their incarnation. So that in between life phase, or it might be that they're recalling a memory from childhood. So a current life event or something that is the cause of what's going on now. So one way or another, our person or our client gets to or does recall the thing or the memory or the area that brings clarity for their symptom or heals their symptom. So it's pretty phenomenal, and it's quite simple, actually. It's simple, it's beautiful, it's calm, and despite the fact that it may seem like it could be distressing, it's I find it calm and a beautiful thing to do. And Nizam, the other thing that I didn't mention before, which you would be aware of, is when someone has an experience in these realms, they suddenly realize that they do not need to fear death. And I think by default, most humans fear death. So, and they might not be consciously aware of it, but really when we're going and buying our vitamins so that we live longer, or we're doing these things, it's an inadvertent fear of dying because we don't want to.
Yes.
So what it does is in a big way, it helps us to live our life more at ease.
Wow.
Without these subconscious fears of death, because reality is we are all going one day. We know that. So we've got to live while we're here as best we can. And although we're delving into past lives, we're actually doing that to make now better.
Amazing. That was awesome. And Toni, trust me, the structure of the program is amazing. I think it's one of its kind where you have been sensitive, because I have heard many stories like astrologers or numerologists or any other kind of alternative. They have hurt people with their words. They said you are not going to be like this, and there's so much wounds. People who have gone for healing, got wounded further. But here comes a beautiful module paying attention to every aspect. So tell me, were you guided by any invisible helpers to bring this program into a structure? Tell me the secret behind it. Do you have any team invisible helpers helping you? Maybe I'm just curious and just asking.
So I got to admit that almost everything in this program, I call it through my stream. So whether I'm awake in the night or it's just streaming out, it's been in development for a long time, but I followed that stream. For me, it's really strong. So I mean, it's the same as the creative stream, but this stuff is coming through. It's coming through sometimes in my language, but often I would read things back and be like, did I write that? So it's phenomenal. And even, well, really everything within it, except for the counselling module, is predominantly through my stream. So my stream, yes, I call them the peeps as well. So it's not that I necessarily see a figure. I have seen figures, but usually it's just this knowing that comes in and it's loud. And I say loud, it's just clear. I mean that it's clear and it's over my everyday thoughts. So yes, it's been streamed through. And this is why I make the claim that there's nothing like it in the world, because I streamed it. So if there's anything that is similar to someone else's, it certainly hasn't been intentional.
So people who want to become past life regression practitioners, they don't have to stream because it is already been streamed and they have direct access to you. Wonderful.
Yes, they do.
Thank you very much, Toni. It's such a beautiful gift you have brought to this world, and see the beauty of the structure of the program. And I promise I have asked you so many questions. One last question. Can you please tell me about the book you have authored, Toni?
Oh, my book. I don't have one here, or I'd hold it up.
No.
But the book I authored I called it Awake, The Purpose of Life and Why We Were Here.
Such a beautiful title it is, Awake. Yeah.
It was, I have to admit, I grew so much as I wrote that book. My self-awareness was continually being poked. So by the time, from when I started it to the time that I finished, I almost rewrote it because I changed so much. Like in the beginning, there was a bit of victim-y stuff where I would do a little bit of blaming. And when I read it back, it was like, oh my God, what am I doing there? So I would rewrite it for how I saw things at the time that I published it. So it was published in 2017. So it's quite a few years ago now. But I wanted to show how an everyday person, how our life is planned and how it plays out in everyday terms. So I think probably one of the things that people think is that they're making their way towards a destiny, but it's like, we're not. We're living it every moment of every day. That's our destiny. So, and then if we can just, I know they say live in the moment, and it's quite difficult to do because of course we have active minds and you know, and we want to do things, but when we get this awareness, you really just feel calm about things. And even when things go wrong, it's like, oh, it doesn't knock you around for very long. You can quickly get back on top of things and realize what did that happen for, and you know why. So,
awesome.
So that was the purpose of the book.
Wonderful. And Toni, is this available on Amazon so that I can make the link in the YouTube description? So is it available on Amazon?
It is. It's on Amazon. Awake, The Purpose of Life and Why We're Here. And it's also, I read it as well, so it's on Audible.
Wow.
I reckon I streamed that too.
Excellent.
So I didn't Yeah,
Okay.
it's really cool.
And I'm breaking the promise again. One more question, Toni. So, if anyone is interested to reach out to you about this program and all that, is it fine with you if I make your Facebook profile and website and other details so that they can reach out to you
Yes,
directly through Facebook or any way they are comfortable with
yes,
to know
please
more
do that.
details about this? Okay,
Yes,
right.
that would be wonderful. And the website's ToniReillyInstitute.com. So please reach out to me. We're actually about to start the 2022 intake on the 8th of February, so it's really soon.
Sure.
But I do have a place left. So if anyone hears this and wants to jump on, get in touch with me. Otherwise, there'll be other intakes, because to train as many people in this incredible practice or way of therapy that works is the mission.
Wow. Finally, Toni, I could capture your story, and then here is the interview. And thank you very much for your time to share your story. And I really loved when you were explaining all these modules, and all the very best for your program. And may more and more people from worldwide get certified from your institute, and many practitioners can help thousands of people across the world to make this world better place to live. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nisam. I appreciate talking to you. It's been wonderful.
Bye, Toni.
Bye.